All right. Hello everyone. I hope you guys are having a good time tonight. I hope to make it better for you as well. So I'm going to be talking about the rise of low configuration tooling. So there's this concept of configuration in tooling. Now you may notice that there's a title change here. I just finished the slides about 5 minutes ago. I reworked the presentation that I already did in Vienna. I updated it with new stuff. People keep tweeting, so I have to keep reading stuff. I am a front-end engineer. I recently quit my job to become a freelancer. So new exciting time right now. I don't know what's going to come up, but we'll see. You can find the slides. I don't know if you guys saw that, but you can follow along on the slides here. Maybe it's a little bit easier to find the Easter egg if you do that. And actually you don't need this Z at the end. Just go to talks. That should be fine. So to tell the story about this, we should probably be clear on a couple definitions first. So one thing is what is configuration actually? So what is the definition of configuration? How can we define that? So we can take an example. Maybe you guys have done some webpack or used webpack in the past. And webpack is well known for its configuration. So here's some webpack configuration. So how can we generalize this? So this is an example, but how can we generalize this into a definition of configuration? So first of all, what is webpack? So webpack is a code bundler, and so what is it doing in this case? It's being configured for a specific application, right? So you're trying to bundle some specific thing, and you create an application in the end. So in that case, what we could say is configuration is a collection of settings to adapt a code bundler to a specific web app. But that's not specific enough. So can we make it more general? So maybe this fits. So configuration is settings to adapt generic tooling, so something that can be used for multiple different things, to multiple use cases. So you want to be able to configure it so it works for your use case, which is great, right? I mean, everything is awesome. You get everything that you need, and everybody is happy, right? So there's this thing called JavaScript fatigue. So this was a thing that was written by Eric Clemens, the first blog post, and what he was talking about is I think he was saying something about he was going home and he was chatting with his friends or something like this, and he was feeling not so great because he always had a really high mental load about trying to keep everything in his head about what's going on in the JavaScript industry, all the new stuff that's coming out, and to be able to have to make decisions on every new project. So if you're starting a new project, well, how are you going to configure it and things like this. So you got to always constantly be keeping up. So that's kind of a little bit what we heard just in the last question. So in a way, we can say that configuration contributes to programmer fatigue. So the more configuration that we add to our tools times the number of tools equals, programmer not so happy. Second industry phenomenon is maintainer burnout. So that's people. So the people that are actually working on the tools that we all rely on. So Babel, Webpack, they also have lives. They're real people, and they sometimes burn out. So there's been some significant things that have happened in the industry in the last 6 months or so, where people have just rage quit and just be like, no, I can't deal with this, just too much. I mean, one of my friends, he works on Webpack, and he comes every day to see this. I mean, these are just hours ago, just new issues about configuration. So these are, Webpack is a very notable example of configuration. So you have a lot of different options, and they all have to kind of play together, also with different tools and everything. So this is just a small selection of the tools. And it's just like a lot about just incompatible things, stuff that just doesn't work together. So Dan Abramov, you guys maybe know him. He recently joined Facebook, well, yeah, a few months ago now, and he describes it as a tragedy of the commons. So what a tragedy of the commons is a bunch of different people, so a bunch of different parties competing for some shared resource. So a good example of this is fishing companies. So when they go out into the ocean and they pull fish out of the water, there's only a certain number of fish, and they should all actually share this, but they don't always do this. Some people do overfishing, and so in this case, how this relates to configuration is there's a whole bunch of different people that want to use, for instance, Webpack or some kind of tooling for their own needs. So they have some specific need that they need, and they want it to be added as a configuration option. So this is why it's this tragedy of the commons. Everybody wants their own thing in it, but the more people that want the maintainer time, the less that everybody has to share. So what we can say in this case is that configuration contributes to maintainer burnout. So these are some prominent cases that have happened recently. That it's just a shame that it happened at all. So, for instance, issues with configuration and also maintenance of every configuration. These need to be dealt with. Another industry phenomenon is the high mental burden on teams. So if you're working in a team, then you need to know how the tools that you're working with, how they work, and all of the different configuration options that you have. So I often have this problem. I'm like looking through my source code, and I added that configuration option somewhere. I'm not sure where it was, and I just have to search for it. Another example that this was just done recently. This guy, he compared the different options that you have for source maps, and some of them are just broken. So actually, almost all of them are broken in some way, and one of them does work. And so one great thing would be is if we could remove the other options and just work with the one that does work. That I think it would work for 90% of people anyway. So this was one of the recommendations as a result of this. So in this case, we can say that it contributes. So configuration contributes to a burden on teams. So it's a mental burden to have to think about all of these things, to know where your last Webpack configuration was. So that leads us also to endless bike shedding. So if I don't know if you guys have ever argued about which ESLint rule to configure in which way. I've done this a lot myself, and it's really bad. I've had pull requests where I'm just like, yeah, you missed a semicolon there or something. This is a good example here. So this is the Airbnb JavaScript repo where they have a lot of ESLint configuration and stuff like that. And so this is something where a whole bunch of people, so there's like over 75 comments here about people that are just saying, yeah, no, this configuration doesn't quite work for me because I like to have my semicolon just on the next line or something like this. And it comes down to, you know, do you want to be productive or not? So in this case, in the case of linting, we can go with some different options. I'll show the different options as well. So it leads to this reduced team efficiency, and that's something that we also see. So what's the answer? I mean, like, this is all doom and gloom, right? That's like everything is bad, and we should just stop being programmers and, I don't know, just go home or something, right? So can we go back to our definition? I mean, like, if we go back to our definition of configuration, so we have the settings to adapt generic tooling to multiple different use cases. So can we somehow get rid of these multiple use cases? So these multiple use cases will not be going away. We're going to have to continue to do new projects. There's going to be new stuff that we want to work on. There's going to be new things that come out. We want to be able to use them. We can't just like stop and be static. That doesn't work. But maybe we can do something like intelligent defaults. So maybe we can build our tools in a way that they are lower configuration, or I mean, in some cases we can get away with zero configuration. We can get away with something where you just don't have to change anything. You just install the thing and it works in your project. So I wonder if we can do this. And I think, you know, the industry is kind of, they've answered this. They've said, yeah, we would like to move in this direction. And so some examples are, for instance, Jest. So Jest is a low configuration testing tool. It doesn't get away with full zero configuration or anything like that, because unfortunately you have to do some webpack configuration. It's not actually webpack configuration. You're redoing the webpack configuration in Jest configuration. It's kind of, yeah. But anyway, they have this idea where they want to be in this direction. So that's good. I mean, we want to go in this direction. Another one is so Prettier. I don't know if you know this. This is a code formatter. So it's kind of like it is either an alternative or something that you can use in addition to ESLint. So this allows you to format your code, and you don't need to worry about any of the options. So these are all the options that they had, or back when I took the screenshot, actually that was some while ago. But they're trying to get away with having less options there. So that's by James Long, and what he said about it was, so unlike ESLint, there's not 1,000 configuration options, and this dramatically reduces the bike shedding that we were talking about. So not as much talking about like the little options that you have opinions on. Another example is so Create React app. So I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but this is a really easy way for people to get started with React. So you can scaffold out a React project. This is very, very low configuration. I would say like pretty close to zero configuration. You start your app and you get no build configuration. So in Create React app you have some different packages. So it's a monorepo. So a monorepo is a bunch of different npm packages in a packages folder, basically. And so you have a Babel preset, you have Create React app, the command line tool, you have ESLint config, you have some utilities, and then React scripts. React script is where most of the magic happens. You have like different start script, you have build script and stuff like that. And what's really cool is that so they deal with a lot of the things that you would typically have to deal with. If you're going to set up a new project, then you have to pull in a lot of these kinds of dependencies. So you have your ESLint, your Babel, whatever, and you have to know, okay, which versions are going to work with which versions, and in their case, they abstract that all away. So you have a dependency on React script in your package JSON, and all of that knowledge and all of that all of the configuration, and it's insane actually how well they document this stuff. So like most of this stuff is comments. Like most of what they write is comments about, okay, this particular issue in Babel causes it not to work with this thing, and they are constantly on this. The community actually contributes to Create React app quite a bit, and they just sort out the difficult things for you. So Create React app is it's actually made up of these Babel configuration, ESLint configuration, and Webpack configuration. So what's clear here is it's actually not getting rid of the configuration completely. It's just that they're doing it for you. So if you can offload some of that to some community effort that's one way that we can try to move away from this mess slowly. Yeah, so some teams are actually using this as well. So they're being inspired by this to change their own tools. So what they're using internally in their build systems to be zero config as well. So to have a dependency on some common thing that they're using, and for all of that to be abstracted away. So all of the configuration, all of the different versions that work correctly with each other, and then their architecture team or their operations team will deal with that. Yeah. So. One other thing is, so if you guys are building tools, I don't know if you guys are doing any open source stuff, or if you guys are making new stuff, if you're gonna like publish the next webpack or something, maybe one of you guys will do that. If you're gonna do that, just try to reduce the configuration, try to make it into something, you know, that's less of a burden to both yourself and to the open source community. You're just gonna be helping everyone. So that's pretty much it. There's some takeaways here. So whatever it contributes to. So the configuration contributes to programmer fatigue, maintainer burnout. So mental burden on teams. So if you're introducing these tools in, everybody needs to know about them. Team efficiency, and the new low configuration tooling that is coming out right now can help. If you guys are building stuff, then please resist adding more stuff, adding more options, adding more settings. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for having me.
This is to Karl. Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Can you compare React Create app and React Boilerplate? I have heard that React Boilerplate has very cool webpack config. And what is better to use, React Boilerplate or React Create app?
Sure. Yeah. So you were saying that React Boilerplate has a very cool what? Webpack configuration. Okay. So comparing. So the question was, can I compare Create React app and React Boilerplate? And which one is better to use in configuration? So I'm not going to say which one is better to use or worse to use, but I mean it's always going to be your choice in the end. But I would say, so Create React app does things a little bit differently. So taking a boilerplate like React Boilerplate, you're going to be copying a lot of the stuff down to you locally, and then you're going to be changing it. So it's kind of like taking Create React app and then ejecting. So there's this thing called ejecting in Create React app, where it takes all of the configuration and everything inside of React scripts and it moves it out to your project. So you still have this option with Create React app. I think a lot of good effort is being put into both projects, into the React Boilerplate. So actually, the React Boilerplate is from one of our guys in Vienna, so Max Stoiber. I don't know if you guys have heard of the name. But yeah, so he's put a ton of effort into it. A lot of community contributors have put a lot of effort into it as well. There are some things that are in React Boilerplate that are not in Create React app. So if you need those things, then yeah, you may want to consider that. For instance, I don't think they have Happy Pack or the DLL plugin in Create React app, but they do have it in the React Boilerplate. And so yeah, just these performance things, and I think like offline capabilities. There's some special sauce that is in React Boilerplate. So you have to really kind of evaluate this from your own use case. But I would say there's really a lot of benefits to having React Boilerplate, but you're going to have to maintain a lot of that stuff yourself. So there's like ups and downs to both sides of things. Okay, yeah. I mean, One other way of doing that would be to make your own kind of dependency that's based on your configuration of React boilerplate. So if you really like what React boilerplate is doing for you, you could make an npm dependency, and then you would have that all in one package. So you could still have your cake and eat it too, in that sort of sense.
Any more questions?
Do I understand correctly that actually when there is a certain trade-off between an amount of configuration and flexibility of your tool? So if you have less configuration, you also have less flexibility. In your day-to-day job, how do you decide what parts would you like to have configured, and what can be done like community effort, or actually decided for you?
Right.
How do you draw this line for yourself?
Right. Yeah. So the question was, how do you draw the line? What should be configured and not? Yeah. This is always like a slippery slope kind of thing. You don't really know what is going to be the things that you're going to need to configure. Kind of like this way that we develop these days. So I don't know if you want to call it agile or whatever you want to call it. You won't know the requirements of projects or of multiple different projects relying on some kind of tool like this until maybe later. So I guess the kind of soft rules would be try not to add any configuration until you really see that it's a need for multiple different projects. So try to make like things zero config, try to make things into opinionated defaults, so nice defaults that just work in multiple different locations, and try to write your apps in a way that they work with the kind of opinionated defaults if possible. And yeah, sometimes you will have to config stuff too. It's just, yeah, that's just going to be the way it is.
Yeah, but there's also a matter of opinions, or well, what do you think it's right? Maybe you don't agree with people who did the configuration.
So do you mean if you have a different opinion than what was configured already? Yeah, I think this is this thing here. So I think that opinions, so when it comes to configuration and stuff like that, I've been trying to move away from them personally. I've been trying to be less personally opinionated. So unless I'm actually writing the tools myself, I just use them the way that they are. And I guess I would suggest to consider doing that yourself as well. So if you're in this situation and you're contributing to an open source project or something like that, and say for instance they're using tabs instead of spaces and this is the end of the world and it's horrible, I would consider just taking a step back and think maybe it's okay, maybe it's all right, and think about maybe you could make your own really cool open source project, and then you can use all the spaces you like. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.